You got accepted into PA school and September is just around the corner. The butterflies are in your stomach. You've started watching all the medical shows, from Scraps to Grey's Anatomy, fantasizing about when you can finally yell sarcoidosis as a potential differential on the world round. I definitely couldn't wait. But first, the basics. A good appreciation of the basics is the foundation upon which this medical edifice will be built. If it's sand, you'll fall. But build it on a rock, and you'll thrive. Though the standard narrative is that most PAs have a past degree in biomedicine, the range of prior degrees accepted by the various institutions means the foundation of new PAs come in various shapes and sizes. This variation can be somewhat problematic, especially in the 2 years masters, which is the one I'm familiar with, mainly because it takes a lot of groundwork for granted across the various disciplines, from physiology to pharmacology, biochemistry to genetics, microbiology. You are assumed to already know it. They have to, else there'll be no way to justify the 2 years duration. Perhaps if one were to come directly from undergrad to PA school, then all might be good. However, if there are breaks, years of working, then the foundation needs all kinds of concrete added to it. When I put it like this, it almost makes it seem that if you are not a biomed, you are doomed. And that is certainly not the case. Though I must admit I have a bias, it's La Cosa Nostra. Just like your first love, it feels special. Pela pela pyar hai. To illustrate my point, though I could wax lyrical about the Krebs cycle, pathology of tetanus, Parkinson's, and God knows some obscure signaling pathway by virtue of my background in biomedicine, if I were asked to name 2 muscles of the forearm, I would have had to throw gang signs like a disappointed Italian. Because my background did not prepare me for it. In contrast, if you were to ask this same question to one of my colleagues who had dedicated 3 years of their undergrad studying anatomy, this would have been child's play. We all come in with some advantages and we come in with some disadvantages. There is no denying that whatever this foundation is, by its very nature, it's very broad. A search for all the necessary components for this foundation will be time consuming and frankly not fun. However, you chose this path. Nobody asked you and there are no free lunches. So better start looking for them. If you do not get these basics for the foundation right, you'll make for a good caricature. You'll be spewing all the right stuff without the understanding to defend it. As I told you last time, gone are the days when a doctor's word was final. If a doctor is getting pushback, you and I, who are PAs, will be bulldozed, and knowledge is our only weapon. As a caveat, my bros doing the 4-year courses, you need not worry about all I'll be saying from here on based on my little understanding of the structure. The foundation is not assumed. You'll be taught everything and then you develop accordingly. This is not surprising as the time constraints are rather different, which brings to mind a couple of dilemmas, but I'll keep them for myself now and make a different video on it. So bros, enjoy your summer holidays, but in September, go there and mean business. It's not by force to do any foundation work before you start the course. We're full-grown adults. You'll just have to pay the cost. The cost will come in many forms, from not being able to follow lectures to questioning yourself as to whether you are cut for the course every other week. These are not thoughts you want whizzing up in your head when you are in there. Or, like me, you could have the pleasure of meeting a junior doctor who is having a rough day at work, who, though impatient, accurately points out your ignorance in front of everybody. So, the choice is really yours. Sonona, 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 hamsavar mujiko. Chulona. There are certainly multiple ways to lay this foundation. These are just a few ones I would have liked to have brushed up on before I commenced the course. They are by no means exhaustive, but I'm of the belief they will put you in a better position than myself. If you think you could benefit from it, keep watching. The first thing is physiology, human physiology that is. An understanding of what is normal makes it infinitely much easier to comprehend when something goes abnormal. You most likely know it already. However, the rapidness with which it will come to mind will most likely have dulled by September. Go back and revise the cardiac cycle, the cardiac physiology, autorhythmic cells, how the muscle contracts. It should hasten your appreciation of ECGs, lest you become like Socrates, wandering about wards, pestering junior doctors for quick lessons. Actually, I'm speaking about myself. I would pester junior doctors to give me lessons in ECGs in exchange for bloods. I'll do their bloods for them. I'll do cultures for them. You name it, I was willing to sell myself. The renin-angiotensin system and how it's controlled, hypothalamus, pituitary axis. Go back and look at all those receptors. Muscarinic, that's the cholinergics, adrenergics, histaminergic. Learn where are they What do they do if they are agonized, antagonized, and go back and revise all that stuff? And it should come as no surprise if you find yourself bored stiff. But if you're a bit strange like me, you will start smiling at the pages when everything starts to click again. Like a text from an old flame, it brings back all kinds of memories. For this purpose, I would recommend Physiology at a Glance. Like most of the at a glance books, it is very succinct, and for brush-ups, I think it should suffice. Me personally, I used Human Physiology by one Silverton. It's a very, very good one. I had it from Biomed, and I still have it today. It helps me a lot. The next one for me would be Biochemistry. There are many biochemical processes, as you do remember. I do personally believe that knowing them by heart is absolutely useless. You can look them up. The most important thing is understanding how these various processes are regulated. What happens when insulin comes into the picture? What happens when glucagon comes into the picture? For example, when I met that junior doctor, had I remembered that the synthesis of mevalonate was a rate limiting step in the synthesis of cholesterol, I could have known it is catalyzed by hemangioCoA reductase, and that is what statin acts upon when you give statin to patients to help reduce their cholesterol. Had I remembered it, I could have saved face that day, but I did not remember it, so I got destroyed. I don't mind being destroyed if the person speaking to me is right. I'll take it on the chin, I'll go home and I'll do my homework. You might feel that I'm exaggerating with these suggestions, but you ought to understand that the foundations of a house are seldom seen, but can be inferred from the external forces it is able to withstand. So you could feel that, okay, I'm a PA, I know I just give statin to a patient. What is the need of knowing how the synthesis of cholesterol is regulated? You will meet patients that don't care that you are giving them what is guideline approved. They will ask you why, and when you're unable to explain it to them, you see their whole face changes, like you are spitting absolute nonsense. Medicine is a game of knowledge. It's a question of, do you know or you don't? Look at yourself in the mirror. What do I not know? And go find that knowledge. For this purpose, I used Berg Biochemistry, the 7th edition. I was going through it, I think a couple of days ago, and I know I definitely covered the subject, but I've lost some of the highlights. Like, damn, I don't want to read this whole chapter again, man. It's too dense sometimes. But you go through it, you will understand it. Moving on is pharmacology, the pharmacodynamics, the pharmacokinetics. I did it in biomedicine, but bro, if I told you I had forgotten much of it, I'm not lying. But once again, that did not mean they were not important. Yes, we do not prescribe, but we do recommend lots of medications. A grasp of how a drug might behave once ingested, or how the body deals with that said drug, is very fundamental. This will make your understanding of drug interactions more grounded, not just a dogma you accept. You can defend them through your own clinical reasoning because you have the backbone supporting that decision. All the business about cytochrome P450 will become some exoteric knowledge. You'll be able to understand it. Its induction, first pass metabolism, renal excretions, why are you checking the LFT? It will make sense in your head. For this, I recommend Pharmacology at a Glance. It's very quick, goes through this in a rather non-laborious manner. If you've already done the groundwork before, it should bring things to the surface. However, if you've not done it before and you have the appetite, then the undefeated, undisputed champion, Rank and Dale. It's heavy. Chapters are long, but if you learn it, you know. This brings me back to one of the points I made in my last video, that there is nothing in medical school that cannot be learned out of it. I still maintain that position. But the truth is, medical school gives you the structure. For you to sit down on your own to read Rank and Dale is not a joke. Another one is microbiology. Go brush up on your gram positives, your gram negatives. What are the differences? Why? Because this should aid you in your antibiotic stewardship. Then there is immunology, which is very broad, and the basics are definitely not optional. The innate immune system and how it communicates with the adaptive. And why do we treat immunocompromised individuals like special cases in the management of multiple diseases? If you don't know the basics, you can't answer these questions. And believe you me, the patients will ask you, why is it that I'm always having hay fever? Why is it that I'm always scratching myself? If you don't understand the various types of hypersensitivity, you cannot possibly answer this question. You did it in biomedicine. You just have to go brush up your knowledge. And for this purpose, I'd recommend Immunology Instant Notes. It's very easy to read. It summarizes complex topics in a page or 3. But if you have an unquenchable thirst and you wish to suffer, you're a bit of a masochist, then I will tell you the book. You read it, you'll be A1. You can hold your own with anyone on immunology. Learn immunology from Janeway, and you'll be fine. Big boy stuff. I sincerely believe these books will serve you well. They are definitely not the end all be all. There are many things that I've glossed over, I've not even mentioned. But these are the ones that if I were to go back, I would definitely spend some time on them. Oh damn, anatomy. You can do anatomy at a glance, I can do Grey's Anatomy. The choice is yours. It's your boy, Yoti, and I'm out. Salute!